Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside the show while it is live, but most importantly, if you would like to join the debate, simply click the link in the info box to join the discussion and express your views on the shape of the Earth. There are a couple of rules in the Hangout. Number one, please do not swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the show using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show, as this obviously increases the live audience, but in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you are new to the channel or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we already have a couple of guests in, so how are you doing? First of all, Sleeping Warrior, good to have you.
Morning.
Morning to you too. And how are you doing, Ranty? Good to have you.
Morning.
And how are you doing, Arwin?
Yeah, good morning. I'm doing great.
Right, typically, as always, the link has now vanished the second I started live, so I'm going to just stick the photos up and go and sort that out while you guys shot amongst yourselves.
Why does Arwin not have an icon? Are you omnipotent, Arwin? Are you God?
Not yet.
Oh, why haven't you got an icon?
I have no idea. Like, do you guys hear me echo as well? It's really annoying.
No, you shouldn't have an echo. Maybe you've got the watch page. Arwin's on Skype.
Yeah, I got the regular page on mute, so you should be able to hear me through there. Okay, I'm not echoing anymore. So,
while Nathan's doing his background thing, I'm going to take this moment to hog the mic for about 3 minutes while I read something that I found interesting. It's to do with radar and air traffic control, and it's to do with airports and stuff. I'm just going to read from a guy's comment, which I found interesting. It'll take me about 2 minutes. There are two main classes of air traffic control radar systems. One is airport surveillance radar, used by controllers at specific airports. Its usable range is 60 miles. The other is en route radar systems, with a usable range of 200 miles. Both systems transmit line-of-sight radio waves, which bounce off aircraft, and another signal from the same location, which is also line of sight, which receives the line of sight radio signal transmitted by equipment on the aircraft. In all cases, any signal which bounces or skips off land, sea, or sky is intentionally filtered out, otherwise the signal cannot be used to separate aircraft. If the Earth is a ball with a circumference of nearly 25,000 miles, then the amount of altitude blocked because of the curve can be exactly calculated. You can look it up online at github.com. En route radars are rarely higher than 20 feet off the ground. At 180 miles over a ball, how much line of sight is blocked? If the Earth is a ball, this must be the same minimum altitude seen by en route air traffic control. I just got distracted by someone that came in.
Flowbirth, good to have you. Can you hear us? Need to say hello? Give you 10 seconds before I boot you.
Speak, Flobe.
Speak, Flobe.
3, 2, 1.
Sorry, Flobe. Got to be quicker than that. If you're going to join the show, you need to speak immediately. Just say hello, 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 hello down the microphone as you join. That way you won't get kicked immediately.
Anyway.
Or say open sesame.
Yeah, say anything. Anyway.
Yeah, just speak.
Sorry to interrupt you, Anthony. You go ahead.
So en route radars are rarely higher than 20 feet off the ground. At 180 miles over a ball Earth, how much line of sight is blocked? That will be by the horizon, the curve itself, the bulge. If the Earth is a ball, this must be the same minimum altitude seen by en route air traffic control radars. Look at the screenshot from the curvature calculator. It says 20,300 feet must be blocked at 180 miles. Guess what? Every minute of every day, air traffic controllers at en route radar screens all over the world do two things. One, they see many aircraft at 180 miles from the radar site, far below 20,000 feet. It's typical to see them at 6,000 feet or less if no trees or buildings are blocking their signal. And 2, they prove that the Earth is observably, repeatedly, verifiably flat.
Hello, Make 4. Hello.
Give him a minute. How you doing, mate 4? Can you hear us?
Hey, sorry.
Hey, hey! You're a real person. Hooray.
Hooray.
I
Hey,
am.
can
yes.
I ask a very simplistic question? You probably already know the answer for this. Like, technically, with the official curve, how it should be. If you were to stand on the ground, just a perfectly level ground, say like the Nevada desert, how far would you be able to see at a typical eye height? What is the length you could see until the curvature starts obscuring it? What is the maximum visual range if you're standing
if you
on
go
a
look on
level
Google,
plane looking with eye height, the average eye height? What would that be? How far would a normal person be able to see on the globe Earth?
I'll share my screen to answer this because it's an interesting question because usually if you go to Google, they don't like it when you go to Google because it's often the answer that their model tells us without any of the nonsense that goes with it. So
they want us to look at the CGI globe and wanted to look at these complex formulas explaining how complex and globish it is, but just basic questions are often more telling.
So the answer to your question appears to be, for an observer on the ground with eye level at 5 feet 7 inches, which is, I guess, the average adult, the horizon is at a distance of just 2.9 miles. For an observer standing on a hill, like me at St. Bees, for example, 100 feet or 30 meters in height, the horizon is at a distance of 12 miles. 12 miles, really, at 100 feet? So this is what they're telling us is the truth. Yet we can see stuff for 50 miles comfortably, 40, 50 miles on a clear day. And in the far distant background, we see land masses that are only consistent with island. Yet this is all we're supposed to see. How far
is that away from the location you took those photographs of, or the film? How far was it away, Ireland?
It's a fair trek. I'll be going back there soon. It's just about a weird week or so.
How far was that away again from you, Ireland, from the film?
140
footage?
miles on the far left-hand side, and it was 86 miles on the right-hand side, and we're seeing it.
And how high up were you, roughly? 35 feet?
Well, it says on Google Earth, it said 52 feet.
Okay, 52.
I'm putting in what their model says. I don't really care whether it measures out anything different because their model is their model, and that's what we're trying to prove is not right.
Now, I'm just looking at what's presented here, and so at 100 feet you would be able to see a maximum of 12.2 miles. Yet you standing at not even half that could actually see, how far was it?
140 miles to the south and 86
140
miles.
I think that's a little bit more.
Yeah.
As in over 10 times as far.
This is ridiculous. This is how ridiculous the model actually is when you look into it. And they don't like us looking at the simplified Google versions, but this is what they're telling us is the model. I want to show you something that we were looking at yesterday.
No, don't look at Google. That's just a representation of what it should sort of be like, but it's a little bit off.
Whatever you do, don't Google flat Earth.
That's the problem, isn't it? Okay, so this is on the north side of the island. Let's just get rid of that place mark. Yesterday we were talking. We were looking at this chimney stack that I really wanted to find out about, because it appears that I might have seen something in the evidence yesterday on the show yesterday that I've missed until now. Now, if I tip this down a little bit, here we go. All right, so what I want to show here is like what is a straight line in real world on Google Earth is actually a curve, which is a bit of an issue for me because when I look at what I was looking out at, you can see that the curve starts. It's not, you don't see much of the curve looking 30 miles. But when you look into the 80 miles, and indeed when you're looking down this long side, you can see that these lines are actually beginning to curve. So what that's doing is what would be a straight line for me on Google Earth is not going to line up, which is the reason why we've been struggling looking at these stacks. So now what I want to do is how should I do this best? What I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this line. I'm going to drop this line to that place mark, and you will observe that it just kisses the southern side of the Scotland Lower Peninsula. I'll dump this into a more accurate position for where I was, which was about there somewhere. No, it wasn't. It was a bit further back. It doesn't really matter. I just want to show you what the effect is of these grid lines, because when we were looking at these grid lines yesterday, it really becomes prominent what the problem is with why we're not able to identify this stack. Whatever this stack actually is, if I pull this up to the horizon, can you see? I don't know whether you can see that, but can you see how much those lines are bending away from us?
You mean to the right and left?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm looking across there now.
Kind of thing.
Well, they're
I'm
fanning
just
out.
catching the bottom side of the bottom side of Scotland, not Ireland, Scotland. But to see that, according to this, I've got to look to the left because the light bends around to the right according to what the globe parameters are. And look at the distance. Look at the swap on that. But notice how there isn't any grid lines here. For some reason, it seems to have been engineered out, and I'm sure there's a totally logical and reasonable explanation. But if you were to carry these lines back onto the observer, I'm sure
you'd be at the North Pole, mate. The observer would be the North Pole.
This is it. I mean, I'm trying to look at these stacks, right? Yesterday, live on Nathan's show, I spotted what I thought was something new. So what I did was, and I suggested it yesterday on the show, and I said, it looks to me like I'm looking at 3 stacks. So this is the original video, but what I've done is I've changed the contrast and the brightness on it so I could make things darker, so I can see a little bit, hopefully see a bit more. And I'm not going to release this thing publicly because this has now been processed. This is what people like Soundly do with all their work, and I'm not prepared to do anything that's been processed because it's not the real image. But people can do this themselves. Now, obviously, I go down to the left-hand side of the island, right the way down to the bottom here, and we see that land, and then I come all the way back up again. But what's interesting is when we get to this point here where we go across this gulf. Now, this is where Ramsey is. Ramsey's in here somewhere. And then when we go across, we end up with this bit here, which may or may not be Isle of Man. Probably is, but equally lines up with something else. But what I want you to look for at this point is 3 chimneys. Not 1, but 3. Now, you can see there's one that's prominently, you can see it, but it looks like there's another one next to it and another one next to it in an even line. And you can't see the chimney on these 2, but you can see the smoke that appears to be coming out of them, and they're all bending off to the right. So if I slow the video down, video playback speed, where is it? Playback speed. Slow this right down. You can see that as we zoom in, you can see these. There appears to be 3 stacks here now. I'm gonna have to move this out of the way so you can see it. Do you see 3 smokes coming out of this area here? I think there's 3 chimneys there, not 1.
Can you pause it? You might be able to.
I think I'll come back down in a sec. So when I come back down, I'll pause it.
Yeah, it's so much clearer on my iPad than it is on my screen.
Right, there's one chimney with the smoke coming off. There's another chimney with smoke coming off, and there's another chimney with smoke coming off. So I'll have to do it by the frame, and hopefully we'll get hopefully I'll get a good one. Or maybe not. It may be better when it's being moved, actually.
The first half of the video is better, I think. You get a better image when you first pan across it.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know whether it's me seeing this, but it
you
looks
can
to me like there's 3
I can
chimneys
make
there.
out the contrast better. I now see, yeah, as it was slowly moving across the screen, and I actually see a smoke-shaped trail, basically. So yeah, it does look like a smokestack, but
It does look like 3 smokestacks, right?
yeah.
Now,
But it is still kind of vague. So I personally wouldn't be absolutely certain that that's what they are, but that's what they seem to look like. It's what they seem to resemble.
This is on the video that was public, right? I'm going to show.
Analyze this, Anthony. Is this the one that we was looking at last night?
I can't remember whether you were there or not.
It was a really clearly defined chimney stack with smoke billowing out of it.
Hold on,
Yeah, well,
we're joined by
this
Tim
is
Osman. How you doing, Tim Osman? He's gone straight on mute, so he's getting ejected.
Kick him.
He's gone.
Now, this is the other video, the second video that was released, and I've slowed it down so you can see it. But I've processed it so that it was just cut. I've just cut the clips that's relevant. Now, this is the other video, but what I'm seeing is the same artifact, but in both videos. So initially, I thought it was like an internal camera thing that was to do with the sensor or some nonsense like that. But
I saw the 3.
Yeah, I mean, it'll come back out in a sec. But what's interesting is these. Oh, I'll come back to it in a sec. There appears to be 3 smokestacks. I mean, you can see them there. They're on screen right now, and I'm looking at them thinking, right, why can't I see the other 2 chimneys? So I thought, but I'm aware that there's a power station that's in the area, but it doesn't line up at all. So I've always been reluctant to go public with it because I've always felt that it can't possibly be this because it doesn't line up. But when I saw that the looks like there's 3 chimney stacks there now, there they are. All 3 of them are in the picture now. Just one's just off to the left. I'm thinking, right, that's got to be a power station, right? That has to be because 3 big chimneys. That's not going to be the Titanic. It has to be a power station. So on that basis, and when you consider that these lines bend off, like pronounced, look at the line. I mean, the line of sight is kind of here. This is kind of where it's somewhere along here. But if these are bending off, that's so much so on this ball, right? And we don't see round the ball. We don't see in curvy lines. We see in straight lines. When I follow this line back over here, we get to something called Kilroot Power Station. It goes over the tip of Lower Scotland, but we go into the estuary at Belfast, and we see that there is. I'll zoom in here. We see that there is 3 chimneys that are basically here. There's a chimney stack there, there's a chimney stack there, and there's a massive one that's here. Now, it's not in 3D on this model because it's.
You can see the shadows, but.
Yeah, but what we can also do is we can get the photographs of Kilroot Power Station, and rather than go to the power station at the minute, I'm going to go to the tallest structures in Ireland. And then there should be a wiki link in here which gives the top all the tallest things. Now, forget tallest churches. We know it's not a church. There appears to be smoke coming out of it, but the tallest structures. Just make this a bit smaller. So we've got Tullamore mast, radio transmitter. Right, so we've got Money Point power stations, Poolbeg power stations, but then we have Kilroot power station, and it sits at the main stack sits at 650 feet. Right, 650 feet. That's colossal. So when I go back to Kilroot here, Kilroot power station is based on the map. It's based. Zoom out. It's based there. Now, with regards to where I am, it's just gone off, but it was there. It's on the estuary here to Belfast. That's not a million miles away. And I've just shown you on Google Earth how the lines bend. So when you look at these chimneys, you've got a chimney there, a chimney there, you got a chimney there. There's 3 chimneys there in a line. But the other thing that's worth noting is that big bleachy thing, that bleached out like landmass would match up perfectly with this massive. Let me get rid of grid lines. This thing here it's like 900, 700, 800. 800 feet's worth of 900 feet of a cliff edge. For whatever reason, there's a ravine here. So in the evidence, we see that there's a cliff edge. We see that there's 3 chimneys, or appears to be 3 chimneys off to the right, and there's 3 chimneys there, and they would kind of look exactly what we're looking at, almost. And then we have, if I bring the line over, so I'll put the line over, I'll put it to kind of, put it to kind of here.
When you've done that, Anthony, sorry to interrupt.
Looks pretty good. Can I ask a basic question? Like
before you do, Owen, I just want to say
what
one thing.
What is their actual width?
Hold on. Just want to ask one thing before I forget. So when you've got this sight line as it is, can you go back to St. Bees and show it with the grid lines up just before you end your presentation, Anthony? Sorry, Owen, you carry on.
Yeah, I had a technical question. Like, yeah, you seem to have identified these stacks being in Ireland, which is hilarious in the sense that every time we see things, we assume they are pretty close by, and then they appear to be a little bit further away. That's just hilarious.
So now,
but how wide are these chimney stacks? Have you actually measured them up?
We don't know what they
I'll
are
show
yet.
you. I'll show you them in a sec. So the line of
How
sight I'm
big are
looking at
these
is
stacks?
Sorry, Owen. I really, really, really want this point to be hammered home. So I'm sorry to interrupt you, but this is
Okay, no
critically
problem.
important.
I'll mute. No, that's
which
fine.
point, Nath?
Well, the fact that your line of sight is currently about 10 degrees off in terms of what you would actually be looking at in the field of view of the camera. So exactly what you've just where your mouse pointer is now is the actual line of sight in Google. But as you can see from the fan effect at the top of the screen, and Google definitely don't want you to see this. I mean, we fiddled with it for 10 minutes yesterday evening with Chris, and when we finally got it to this stage, I mean, Anthony's gone straight to it like it's easy. It isn't. You know, they don't want you to see this. But what is actually happening is the line of sight is on the far right, bent by about 90 degrees. If you look on the far right of frame, you know, it's ridiculous the amount that it fans out. It's ludicrous. But at the point that Anthony's actually looking, Google represents that as though the line of sight is taking, you know, a 30 or 40 degree change in direction. And it isn't. You know, we see this stuff. It's in the real world imagery. And that's all that matters. Forget how this CGI representation says it is. The fact is we see this stuff on that line of sight in the photograph. But when we come to Google Earth to try and figure out where it is, it'll get you to descend into madness to try and figure out where stuff is. Because as you can see, these lines fan the stuff out so it's wrapped around a ball. And that completely distorts your actual view of what you see. So what you see in the picture does not match Google Earth in any way at distance because it's so far fanned out to wrap around the ball. It's ludicrous. It doesn't work and it's not what we observe. So the point I'm trying to drive home is this, on my screen, you know, 2 inches band just below the Isle of Man, just below the horizon line, where it shows you how far skewed Google Earth is. And there's only one reason, because it's wrapping a flat world around a ball.
So you can see that we've got Isle of Man over here on the left. Now look at the lines that come back to us. The lines are bending away from us.
Renee Christensen.
Hi.
Hey, Renee.
Hi.
Hello. Good to have you.
Can I interrupt for a moment?
No, not yet. Just let me finish making my point and I'll come back to you because I've been waiting for you to join. So what I'm saying is that you can see the Isle of Man also comes back on a curve, but then the line goes out on a curve, and that's the curvature of the Earth that we're not seeing. So this is the line of sight to the Kilroot power station, but it's a straight line. But on this Google Earth, actually what it's saying is that you would need to be looking somewhere around about here and it would bend away from you to line back up again. So when I go back over, you can see that the overlay stays in place. Even though I was nowhere near it initially, it now seems to be lining up. It seems to be lining up with the land that's there, these 3 lines. And then if I go back to the actual video for a sec while I show you the other lines that are in the evidence, I can pretty much line them up because it's so prominent now. If they see these lights that are in the background, all these like that one, these things that are here, these are whatever these are. They're big, right? They're not buildings. They're big, okay. And I'm going to suggest that it might be. Let me get rid of the grid lines. View grid. I'm going to suggest that when we look into the background, we see these things. So at this distance, they don't really look too prominent, but I'll zoom in on this one, for example, and you find out that it's some kind of chalk mine. Now, is it possible that the chalk mine could be one of these bleach marks here? I mean, it could be this one here, for example. So that, I mean, that's not a building, is it? That's a huge, whatever that is. It's a huge white thing. It's a blemish on the horizon. So then you go to like this one and you see then there's another massive white thing. I have no idea what this is, but it looks like it's a chalk mine because it's white. But there's 2 big bleach marks there on the horizon, and they could be 2, like they could be these 2 things that are here, or maybe these 2 things here, depending on how they've mapped it out on Google. And then you look around, and then you see there's another one somewhere. There's a 3rd big one that's around here somewhere, and there's a big industrial estate.
Well, basically, we've still got to analyze this northern stuff properly. You know, this is just throwing it out there to see what people's opinions are. So now the south is far easier to identify.
Yeah, I know. Can I say something? I don't have much time.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, go on then.
Okay, listen. Can you bring up the photo of the landless lighthouse?
Yeah.
from the no, not the close-up, the photo.
Yeah, I just want to show people the size of this stack. Look at that kill route power station.
Anthony, he's just said he hasn't got much time and he's trying
to make.
But
it was literally the finishing point there. Look at the size of that thing. 600 feet tall. Right. So you want Langness Lighthouse, yeah?
Yeah. Of the picture you have taken. No, not from Google. Not from Google. I need the picture that you have shown from your video.
Okay. Where did that just go?
Yeah, was that 3-layer picture you got? Perfect. That one I've never been able to get hold on.
So you're in the back chat now. I can drop this in the back chat if you'd like, so you can get a copy of it.
Yeah, but let's wait with that. Just show me on the screen. Just zoom in on it on the screen.
I can't zoom in as much as Ranty does on his. Might be better if Ranty does it. I tell you what, Ranty, do you want to screen share? I'll drop it in the back chat for him to get a copy of it, and you screen share and show him it.
Okay, so
we
were so close.
All right, so in the back chat now, do you know where the back chat is when I say the back chat?
It's that, I'm not sure. I got something called group chat.
If you go to...
Well, listen, I don't have much time. Let's just watch the picture on the screen. If it's on YouTube, or I can switch between the two pictures. It's not the same, I can see. Just go back to where we were.
Yeah, Ranty's doing it.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Now, if you calculate the angular size of the lighthouse, that means you take 82,000 meters distance and 23 meters height. You'll get an angular size of 57 arc seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you draw a line from the observer's point through the lighthouse and all the way to Ireland, convert that to a line and then show the what you call a height profile, you can see the highest point of that line is at 1 moment. Is 230 kilometers away at a height of 363 meters. If you put that into a angular size calculator, you'll get 325 arc seconds height. Okay. Now, if you compare the lighthouse with the background, it's about half the size of the background.
Yeah.
But it's supposed to be at least 5 times bigger.
Yeah, but this cloud
background is the background. No, I don't think it's the cloud cover.
Okay.
So the height of the background should be 5 times higher than the lighthouse.
Yeah, but do you understand that clouds stop us from seeing the tops of mountains?
Are you sure?
Yeah.
There's clouds evidence in the photo. If you want to show in the photo, Ranty, with the clouds covering the top of the mountains.
Yeah, sure.
But I think I honestly think that this is an excellent photo showing something we're not supposed to see on a globe Earth. It's the same like the photo of Chicago across the lake.
You can see how we can't see some of the mountain ranges at the top, and that's because they're in cloud cover. And this is at the Isle of Man. You can see how they don't match up entirely on the top.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's just obscuring. So the cloud cover might have only been at, say, I don't know, 500 feet on this particular day in the Isle of Man. But it's also possible that that was the same case in Ireland. And actually, what we're actually looking at here, when we scroll in, is the middle section of the mountains in Ireland, and the rest, the top parts of them, hidden by the cloud. But I mean, there's no doubt that we are actually seeing Ireland.
Yeah, I think you are seeing Ireland. I'm just seeing you're not seeing what you're supposed to see on a flat Earth.
But the thing is, you know, if I've climbed Ben Nevis. As soon as you go up there, I was above the clouds.
I mean, the cloud line used to be straight, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is not straight.
But you forget you've got ravine. You know, as the clouds fall down the mountains, they don't just stay at a certain height. They travel with the terrain. You know, I mean, you never see a cloud that's completely flat. They're all puffy and different heights and all sorts.
Did you show him how Snake fell? Had the top of it covered?
Snake fell. Yeah. I think I just did it.
Just keep going across to the top. Can you a bit more?
Hang on, I can't. I'll have to get my other image up, the full contrast one. Hang on.
Whilst he's looking for that, I just want to read you a comment from somebody in chat. It was quite funny, actually. When you were talking about the fan effect, Nath, someone in chat, it's Paul. Paul says, the fan effect, huh? Now, that would be something completely foreign to you, having no fans at all.
You see the height of the cloud here, and then when we come across, you can see the height of the cloud is far higher here, but it's covering the top of the mountain. Can you see? You can't see the top of that mountain here.
And we also know that I couldn't see Blackpool Tower on the day because it was a bit misty, so I couldn't quite see it. And I would agree that clouds would cover the tops of the mountains.
Well, okay. Then I'm still not convinced. I know it sounds strange, but I'm still not convinced that the Earth is flat.
Okay, it's fine.
Because unless you can tell me that satellite works on a flat Earth.
Well, did you get any evidence of your satellite photos?
I sent you a link last time.
For the Inmersat?
No, that was wrong. I admitted that last time. It is Intelsat we're using.
Nath, do you want to? I mean, this is newer than what I last saw it. It's changed since then. Are you there, Nath?
I mean, I'm not the one making the claim. You know.
Oh right, it's just he said he said he'd sent a link last time, but I've not seen the link, so I'm not sure what he sent. What he's referring to.
Sorry, 1 moment. I'll just find it.
Because I mean, satellites. I mean, if you can show us what your satellite is that you think that is up there, I'd like to see it because I've never seen a satellite before. I've only ever seen cartoons.
The problem is with a geostationary satellite, you can't see it.
I know, but the problem is if you can't see something, how do you know it's there?
It's like, how can you see the internet?
Yeah, but
we there.
We can prove
we can prove that the internet is there by using it. We're using it right now.
Yeah, but we can see that the wires that make the internet.
Satellite by using the satellite.
Yeah, but we can see the wires that make the internet. The internet's just not a plug on the wall. We know that there's wires that go under the ground and go to big exchanges and then go under the Atlantic Ocean to America.
Yeah, but if you search on geostationary orbit, you can actually see a picture.
Bruce Banner, do you want to speak up quickly?
Hey, mates.
Yo.
Hey, Bruce. Good to have you here. Nice to see you.
Thanks.
No, what were you saying?
I was saying that if you go into Wikipedia and search for geostationary orbit, you can see a picture where you can. It's this satellite, geostationary satellites, is about 20,000 miles away from Earth, at least.
Okay. So what is it you want me to type in? Geostationary orbit?
Yeah. I'll just 1 moment see if I can find it.
Now, I'm going to predict that we're going to see a cartoon picture. I'm going to predict we're not going to see a real actual satellite. So you tell me where you want me to go?
Well, actually, you can't. As I said, satellites are very small compared to how far they are away from the Earth.
Okay, but if you want me to believe that there's something there, like for instance,
I ask you? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I want to ask him a question about satellites. Is that okay?
Geostationary orbit. Yeah, I got it here.
So, can I ask you, do you know of a couple satellites that you can see with your own eye or with a telescope?
Who are you asking?
Well, the ISS. Unfortunately,
Well, I don't think any of you thinks there's satellites. So, only the person that thinks there's satellites.
Yeah.
oh.
He's
So
talking
what?
Ethan.
She said the
I mean,
ISS, right? You've seen
what
the
is it that
ISS?
what is it that
I'm sorry.
you can see? I
Hang
mean,
on.
you can go to.
Hang on. Calm down. I just have a couple questions. I'll be quick. So you say you can see the ISS, yes?
No, unfortunately, I can't see it from Greenland since it's not going that high. I mean, the orbit of the ISS does not allow me to see it from Greenland.
Well, I'm going to ask you one of two questions then. Do you know of a satellite that you can see with your naked eye, or would you agree that people see the ISS and it's a satellite in your book and people see it with their naked eye?
You can see it with your naked eye if you are in that area where it orbits around.
Okay. So as long as you're in the orbit, you can see it with your naked eye. Now,
Yeah.
how
Yes.
big is the ISS?
It's not like you can see it in details. It's just a point.
How big is the ISS?
109 meters across, I think.
Okay, so it's generally about a commercial airplane and a half, you would say, maybe 2 commercial airplanes?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay. And we've all seen a commercial airplane in the sky, which travels at about how high?
30,000 feet.
7 miles, yeah? 9 miles?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the ISS is traveling at 240 miles, is only about twice the size of a commercial airplane, and you think you can see that with a naked eye?
No, you can't see it as a detail. You can see it as a spot.
You think you could see
like
it at all? When you see a plane 7 miles high, it looks smaller than your thumbnail. You're going to tell me you can see the ISS 240 miles high with a naked eye?
You can see the light reflecting off it.
You could. I don't care what you say. You can see it's not 240 miles high. Do you get that? Do you see how that doesn't work in physics? If it's only twice as big as in a commercial airplane, and we can barely see a commercial airplane 7 miles high, you're now telling me 240 miles high. That's, I don't know.
As I said, it's a spot. It's the point on the sky. You can't see details. It's just.
Sorry, Renee. I think what you're trying to do is sort of conflate seeing things. Having something have light reflect off it is seeing it. That's what seeing it is.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
But what is
so my point is, how could you possibly see something the same size as a commercial airplane, 240 miles high?
A bright object on a dark background is easier.
Wouldn't it make more sense that what you're looking at is probably 10, maybe 12 miles high?
Yeah, but it's moving a lot faster than a commercial airlines.
Maybe like a high altitude flight, possibly?
Yeah, but I'm still...
Okay, cool. Well, that's,
Yeah.
What I'm talking about.
Let's say it's an airplane, but it's still moving a lot faster than a plane. I mean, it should be moving...
Have you seen the Concorde? Have you ever seen the Concorde?
Yeah, but it should be moving a lot faster than that.
But it's not.
26 times higher.
I mean, it's rotating around the Earth.
What was that? How many times higher?
19 minutes.
26 roughly. 26 times higher.
Yeah.
Yeah,
great
but
math.
Listen, the ISS...
When the math fails.
Yeah.
But wait, you said it was 240.
Yeah, I know you don't trust me.
Oh, you said miles.
Okay.
My bad, sorry.
You can do the same thing with Mercury. Mercury is roughly the size of Europe, right? So do the same math comparison to a commercial airplane and do the mileage, which is about 45 million miles to Mercury. There's no freaking way we should see that in the sky. It's only the size of Europe.
I think he's saying that the angular size limitation is stopping us from seeing it. But whilst
88 times higher, I think.
Hey, can I say something more?
Please.
The ISS is orbiting the Earth in 90 minutes. 90 minutes, yeah.
So
1.5 hours. Yeah.
So we're told. It's just a number, though, right?
Yeah, but it's still, you need a plane that can circumnavigate navigate the Earth in 90 minutes.
Yeah. And
I don't think even the
Or
Concorde
2,
can do that.
or 3, or 4. Who knows what the PSYOP is? You could have as many planes up there as you like. There's no live feed that lasts longer than 30 minutes.
Yeah, the problem is you have to time it within seconds.
Okay, that's. I mean,
I've got
okay.
52,
Well,
Never seen
I have a
live feed.
52
technical
million a day.
question.
52 million a day. You don't think they can time things to the second?
I have a technical
Not with an
question.
accurate,
If the
no, I
ISS
can't.
is up
I don't
there,
think-
how fast is it actually moving? And yeah, that would be good to know. And if I'm correct, then the ISS would still be low enough that it would not be moving in a perfect vacuum, correctly? It's still somewhat in orbit.
It's not an absolutely perfect vacuum. It's still
There's still gravity there.
yeah,
No,
there's
but
still gravity.
It
of
should
course,
still be
otherwise it would-
moving close to some type
be
of
in orbit.
atmosphere,
No, the
whatever
problem
is
is
high up there.
sometimes
It's
they
not in a
have to
perfect vacuum
adjust
yet,
the
right?
orbit.
listen.
So they-
Can I just ask Flowface? Could you? I've gone to geostationary orbit on images on Google.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if you could show me any of these satellites that you because I'm looking for a photograph, but all I see is like CGI stuff.
The
Any of these
problem
real?
is the satellites. You can't see.
You
can only see.
I would like
you
to
can
make
see
a point, like a
real
pretty
photo of a
significant
satellite
point.
when it's being built on Earth.
Now being built on Earth doesn't mean it ends up in space, though, right?
I'm pretty sure it does.
Oh, right. Okay. So if I build a car in my garage, does that mean it ends up in Australia just because I built it there and told you it ended up in Australia?
Well, if you can show me a bill that has sent it to Australia, yes, I believe you.
But if I showed you a photograph taken at Sydney Harbour, you would accept that the car that I built in my garage has now ended up in Australia, right?
Yeah, we'll probably look at the picture, but yes.
So why don't we see any pictures of any satellites in space if they're all composites? I mean, look at this one. I mean, does this look real to you?
One
I mean,
moment.
even the Earth's not real, or is it real? I'm not sure. I can't tell.
I think
No,
what Anthony's
that's
trying to
just-
do, Rene.
Anthony,
Sorry to
can I
interrupt,
please
Rene.
break in
Sorry.
here? I would like to make a point. that
Yeah, you go ahead.
I
Hold on,
think
we've got
I
some new
probably
guests. Hold on, we've
eluded
got a new
everyone.
guest who's muted immediately.
The
How you doing,
problem
Effie?
is-
No, don't mute. If you're joining and you want to join,
I know,
join
it's
and
a
say
little
something.
confusing,
Don't
this
just
one.
join and mute because you'll get kicked immediately.
So, can I please make a little point
Go ahead.
here?
Yeah, go
Yeah.
on. Howard.
Okay.
Mike,
Yeah,
go.
the ISS is supposed to be orbiting the Earth at a, well, it is orbiting. It's not in the perfect vacuum of space. Am I correct?
Yes, it's still what you call
Yeah, high,
hits the
low Earth
atmosphere.
orbit. It's
That's-
in an
that's
area
still
that's
past
not
the
the
atmosphere
perfect
left in
vacuum
that
yet
high
officially.
altitude.
Okay, so somebody here in chat posted that the ISS is supposedly moving at a 70,000 miles per hour. I don't know if
Yeah,
that's
that sounds
correct,
right.
but
Yeah, that sounds right.
okay. Well, then I have a slight detail here that people might have overlooked. If it's not moving in a vacuum, that means that it's moving 70,000 miles per hour within air. Well, I know a certain thing about objects moving through air at super high speeds, over 1,000 kilometers per hour. They actually go through the sound barrier, and that creates a pretty dramatic shockwave that's very audible even at pretty extreme distances. It carries. So if the ISS was indeed not in a vacuum, moving through some kind of thin air layer at 70,000 miles an hour, it would technically perpetually go through the sound barrier over the Earth. And every
It
time it
depends.
would pass over,
No,
there would
I'm
be
not
coming
sure.
some
Yeah,
type
but
of sound from it.
The question is
Because
how,
that's what things do that
how
move that
close is it
fast,
to vacuum?
not in a vacuum. So
How
how do you
close
explain
is
the
it?
and just a missing
How do
audible
the wings
sound coming from
how
the
do the
ISS
satellite
every time
wings
it
go
moves
through
over?
that?
Hold on,
The
hold on. Can you let him
friction.
answer, please? Can you all let Rene answer?
Hvad hedder det? What was I saying? Now I forgot. I'm a little stressed.
Oh well.
Yeah, I know. The ISS is not moving in perfect vacuum, but it's pretty close to it. And it's also the reason why they, from time to time, have to adjust the orbit. That means by using the supply vehicles they bring supplies to the ISS with, they use that as a little rocket engine and push it further up because it slightly decrease in orbit. All the time.
That's fine. Yeah, that's whatever keeps it up there in the right position officially. But still, it would be an object moving through air at the 70,000 miles per hour, which would definitely make it break the sound barrier constantly. Why aren't there any audible traces coming off it every time it passes over? Because any plane, no matter the height, any plane that would go through some type of air going at over 1,000 miles per hour would break the sound barrier. Why doesn't the ISS break the sound barrier every time it passes over?
The air pressure is too low to generate something like that.
Too low?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
There's not enough air.
No. The lower it gets, the more audible it would get. So as long as it's moving through some type of air and not a vacuum, there would be shock waves coming from it, as it is perpetually going through the sound barrier.
It's almost, I mean, how close is it? Do you know how close it is to vacuum?
That it doesn't really matter. If it's not going through a vacuum, that means that it's going at huge speeds through some type of air, and that air would give off shock waves that would be audible. There would be some type of noise remnant reaching the Earth eventually. Every day it passes over. So where is that sound? Why has nobody ever heard the ISS passing over?
Hey, Floatface, what do you think this is on screen?
Who are you talking to?
Floatface, that's you, isn't it?
Oh.
Are you Floatface?
No.
No, Rene.
Oh, sorry, what's your handle? I didn't. Oh, sorry, it's Rene, isn't it? Rene Christensen. My apologies. I thought you were Floatface. Sorry.
Oh.
What's this on screen?
I have no idea.
Do you know what it's supposed to be? It's supposed to be the International Space Station.
It could be, yeah.
It is. That's what we got. Well, we lined my friend's telescope up, and he has one of these ones that's like a route finder one that does it all for you, so that you don't have to do anything. All you got to do is.
You think it's a plane?
Huh?
You think it's a plane or a satellite?
No, this is right. Listen, my friend's got a telescope that's got one of these mounts that allows you to set it up to the north and gives it. You put in your GPS coordinates tell it where it is, and it will scan the sky for you at the time when you tell it to look where they tell you to look for what they tell you is the International Space Station. And he took about, I think there was about 17 pictures of it, of the thing that he was looking at, and this was like the best of like the lot. So I got this is the copy of it. And I was there when he did it. So although it wasn't my hardware that took it, it was his hardware, but I witnessed it being taken. And this is what they showed us is the International Space Station when it went past us.
Yeah.
I think it's
using a huge telescope that's got loads of zoom. And I agree, it kind of looks a bit like a plane, maybe like the International Space Station. But I also look at it and think it doesn't really look like it's that far away. It looks pretty close and it looks non-tangible. It doesn't look like
9 miles high, tops maybe 10.
Yeah, it looks pretty close. So when I looked up at it, I got the impression that whether this was in the International Space Station or not, I looked at this and thought, whatever that is, that's close.
But this goes to the lack of reality in the in the paradigm that exists right now. How do you think you can see 93 million miles away with your bare eyes, or even further than that to the nearest star?
Well,
technically, the lack of air would.
I'm telling you, don't look at the sun.
Officially, the lack of air, the space would basically
how do you think
prevent
you can see
the blurring up
eye,
of the light. Officially,
right, hold on. We're launching 101 questions at one guy. Can we just stop a second? Hold on. I just want to bring this back on track. So, the original assertion made by Rene was that satellites give him his communications in Greenland. Now we're looking at the ISS. I'm a bit confused, Rene. I don't really get it. So the original task was to show us the satellite that gives you communications.
Yeah, I can't show you the satellites. I can only show you what that we're using them. We're getting signals from geostationary satellites.
Okay, so
well,
just to confirm, just so I can round out this, you have no proof of any communication satellites giving you data on Greenland, and your proof for it is that the ISS is there. Is that correct?
In fact, we can all agree that all.
Hold on. I just want to get a response from Rene. Hold on.
Last time, I know it's 1 moment. Can I find the link again?
Well, I just want an answer because we're now looking at the ISS.
Yeah.
Anthony has asked you to go and find proof of this satellite that you think gives you communications, but we're now looking at the ISS. So what I'm asking is, the fact that we can see the ISS, is that your proof that the communication satellite is real? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
It proves that space exists.
Okay, if the ISS being there proves that the satellite that you think gives you communications is real, then that's fine. That's perfectly acceptable as your answer.
Thank you.
At least he knows how to answer
I know you
a
won't
question.
believe me. That's okay with me.
Well, no, if you want to convince me that the communication satellite is real, I'd like to see the communication satellite. So if you say there is a car called a Zambezi, and I say it's really real, there's a Zambezi, it's out there, it's a fantastic car, and then I show you a picture of a Ford Fiesta, does that make you believe that there's a Zambezi out there? Or does it just prove that Fiestas are real? Because all this proves to me is that you can see something they call the ISS. That's it.
Additionally, I think we all know that pilots and all military pilots use VHF signals. Why are they using VHF signals?
Yeah, surely they should have gone onto Blu-ray by now.
And then if we look at the distance that VHF signals are traveling, certainly they're not wrapping around the corner of the globe.
Hello again.
Sorry, we lost you for a second. Hello again, Rennie.
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry, I just made a mistake with the finding. I tried to open a fan. That was last time I was here. Let's see where we can find that Deus settle. If I post this link in the group chat, can you see it?
Yeah, we should get that. Yes, everybody's got that. Brilliant.
I know it's in Danish, but you should be able to copy and paste it to Google Translate.
Have you got that, Anthony?
I hope it's working, that link.
It's in the Hangout side chat.
I do have it. Am I still screen sharing?
You are? Do you not need to be?
No, leave it on. Let's just open this up and see.
Yeah.
Like my obvious issue with something in a different language is we're not really going to get an accurate translation. Is there anything that we need translated, or can we just see pictures of satellites?
Yeah. There is no satellite photos.
See, that's what I'm asking you to show, though. I'm asking you to show that. I mean, there's one photo that I saw right at the beginning, and it looked like it was the receiver with the. There you go. There's a satellite. Right. So, is that real?
No.
Why not?
It's the scale.
Oh, let's have it back up again. I just want to know why not.
It shows how it would look like
if it was there. What it would look like if it was there.
It's a theoretical representation.
Theoretical representation of what it would look like if it was there. But we've got no real photos. That's our point.
Okay, just in response, let me just show you something in relation to what you're just talking about there with this is what Godzilla really looks like if you believe it. And he was in 29 films.
Is that what they think the picture of Ireland is? It's a possible image of it?
Maybe they think it's maybe they think it's Mickey Mouse.
Listen, can I ask one question for you before I go? I'll be back on Saturday. Are you going to hold this debate on Saturday?
Sure.
Yeah, the daily. I try and hold them daily.
One question for you.
On the Sabbath? Are you crazy?
Saturday, whatever. Why is it that you cannot have satellites in the flat Earth model.
Well, we can, but could you explain what we're looking at here with regards to satellites? Because I would expect that if this signal was coming from the sky, then the angle would be significantly different. It would be like more angular towards the sky. Why is it coming from what looks like
Remember, you are in Greenland. You're
Yeah.
way up north. So the angle to the geostationary satellite is way smaller to the horizon than it is in Europe.
But if you look at the average UK satellite dish, you can see that they're all pretty much pointed to the horizon anyway. If I can find one. If I can find one, there you go.
So is there no geostationary satellite above Greenland then?
Same in the US.
Yeah, but if you scroll up a little, scroll up. Please scroll up. Up. A little bit more. Little bit more.
If there are thousands of satellites geostationary all over the Earth, why isn't there any above Greenland? That wouldn't make any sense.
Geostationary satellite has to be in a ring around the equator.
No, it doesn't.
No.
It can be a ring around anywhere.
They're geostationary. They can basically
but then they're not
float
geostationary.
parallel above the Earth. That's technically what they do. Whether the Earth is stationary or not stationary doesn't really matter because they are parallel. They're supposed to, well, relatively float above one certain location. It wouldn't matter where that would be. So there could... I don't know why they wouldn't put one over Greenland. If they put so many satellites out there.
Money?
So what you're saying is that the signal is only here because it's Greenland, not because it's ground-based antennas or signals or whatever. Right? Is that your position? I would assert, based on this document that we're looking at, that the only thing that's tangible that we can prove to be a satellite is this dish here, because this is a photograph of a satellite dish that we can see, and it's obviously on the ground.
The problem is when you have a fixed satellite dish pointing at a satellite, that satellite has to be exactly the same place every day, every year.
Exactly. That's an inherent problem of what you're suggesting, because if we go to, for example, this infamous video that we've been spending a lot of time on, you can see the effects of zooming into something, relying on a signal that comes from a very pinpoint point. Basically, the slightest maneuver, the slightest bit of movement, and it makes a massive wobble. So what I'm saying is, if we're focusing on a particular point in the sky that's mega far away, it's got to be mega precise and accurate, and never move.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is.
So
geostationary. That should work.
A little tiny maneuver
it's still
down
in its
here
position,
would mean that you'd miss the signal coming in.
Yeah, exactly.
So it doesn't make sense that it's in space, because it would only require the ever so slight movement of the wind or a truck going past, and you'd lose your signal, right?
These are fastened very securely. So you can.
I know what I'm saying is
these are stuck on granite.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, if it's receiving a beam from...
I know, because if the wind is high, you can actually lose the signal.
All right, well, it is what I'll agree. I'll agree that what we're looking at on screen right now is a satellite dish. You've satisfied that part of it. I'll agree that this receives the signal, okay? But show us where the signal comes from, because it appears at the moment that we're getting pictures that look like something's been written in a cartoon comic.
No, but Anthony, technically, what Globers have been saying about satellite is that all of them are geostationary. They're basically moving in an orbit parallel to the Earth's rotation, which means they are still in location. That would make those dishes work.
Satellite dish only works on geostationary satellites. When we're talking about
that's what I'm saying. So they have to remain in relation to the Earth, exactly parallel in place, in order to function.
Renee, is this a real photo?
No.
Probably not, no.
Okay.
Probably not.
All right, well, what I'm going to do, because I know that you're on a time restraint, I'm going to suggest that perhaps that you haven't got the other part of the communications bit satisfied yet, because we know that there's a line of sight required. And you're saying that there's a satellite dish in space that's sending a signal back using whatever method it uses. But when we try look for pictures of any satellites that are actually in space, or even like real satellites that they've actually made, I mean, there's not that many of them. Perhaps if you like showed, I mean, there you go. Is that real?
I think that's either. I think that's the ISS.
Yes,
that's
the ISS. Probably real. Taken from the.
I think it's the ISS.
Yeah,
what's taking the picture?
The space shuttle.
Hold on, we've got a new guest. Is that actually Tim Osman or not? Hello? Hello? Hello?
So,
Okey-dokey.
listen, I'm sorry I have to go now.
Okay.
But
it's been a real pleasure. Thank you, Rene. It's been a real pleasure.
I hope I can come back on Saturday.
Sure.
Definitely.
Come back on Saturday, but bring some satellites with you.
Thank you, Rene.
I can't do that. Sorry. But,
See,
You're a real gentleman.
let's
You're a gentleman, Rene.
But as well, at least I haven't been kicked out today.
No,
You're a
we've
gentleman.
been trying to keep you in.
Yeah, nice.
No, you're a genuine person. At least you answer questions without wasting
And you're
an
a
hour.
gentleman.
So
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll
you've
come
done you
back on
well.
Saturday.
Done well.
I
Five
don't-
five flat
I'm at
earthers
work
versus
right
you.
now, so
Well
I
done.
have to go back to work.
Thank you, Rene. Really, really pleased you joined. Thank you so much.
And,
Have a nice day. See you later.
Bye bye.
Shout out to DTB NPR in chat. Riley is so stupid. Honestly, join. Let's talk.
Can I reset the picture real quick? Is the only position against us seeing Ireland in the picture so far, one, we don't know what we're looking at, and two, refraction? Is that it?
Well,
Not really. Refraction's not a reason for not seeing it. Refraction's a reason for seeing it.
Right. That's what I mean. I mean, is that their position that it's either A, we don't know what the hell we're looking at, or B, it's because of refraction?
Pretty much.
Is there any other position?
No, that's pretty much it. So it's non-standard refraction, looming things up that are 2.5 miles drop below Earth's curve, and you have things at 51 miles also projected up to the horizon perfectly, and you have things at 31 miles projected up perfectly, and they all sit perfectly on the horizon in perfect proportions because of non-standard refraction. That's their argument. And then from the slightly slower people, they say, we just don't think you've got it right.
And have we actually had someone state what we're looking at in this picture is not real? We're looking at, a hologram or a mirage or something like that.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're saying. So in order for us to see things that are physically not there, so if you imagine you're on one side of a hill and there's a town on the other side of the hill that slopes down away from you, you physically can't see that village on the other side of the hill because there's a hill in the way. But if you can see the village, which is what they're saying is happening, it is literally being holographically projected up above the hill to your line of sight. You can't actually see it because it's physically on the other side of a hill. So you don't have line of sight with it. What you're seeing is a hologrammatic effect projecting up the town on the other side of the hill up to the horizon so that you can see it. But you couldn't shoot it. It's not really there. And in this instance, because we have some things with line of sight at the top of the mountains on the globe Earth, and we have some things that are holographic projections, it necessitates that the entire island is looming on the horizon, in spite of the fact that it is literally on the other side of a hill. You don't see it. It's not there in the globe model. It is literally, if you understand, for the thick people, they tell me, oh, it's not a hologram.
Why isn't any of the water refracting? Why isn't that looming? Why
that
don't
was
we see any
exactly
of the water
Jaren's
stretching?
response. So Jaren on, was it Iron Realm Media, said exactly that. If it was all being refracted up, we would also have the water being refracted up as well. So yeah, exactly.
Could you imagine going through life thinking everything you see is not real? That must be amazing.
And that is exactly the case. In the globe model, a guy in the comments was like, you've put your diagram with Anthony looking straight out. I was like, what, like he was? Yeah, I have. He was like, but in the model, he's looking at a void. And I'm like, yeah, that's what should be there in the Earth model. Everything's falling away from you. Islands on the other side of a hill. So the fact that it's seen necessitates hologrammatic effects on the globe model to make things be above the horizon that are way, way, way beyond the horizon, that are on the other side of a hill. So when people criticise me and say, you don't understand what holograms are, well, I understand that there is literally a town on the other side of a hill, and therefore I cannot see it. It's physically and geometrically impossible to see it. There's a wall of hill in the way, and in this case there's a wall of earth wall in the way. So we physically can't see Ireland in their model, it's not there. But we do. Well, how is that possible? Well, we've got a hologrammatic effect projecting it up. That's what's happening. Now, like I say, the stupid people, they don't understand that. They literally don't understand what is necessitated just to look at this picture. They don't get it at all.
Right, now, the pictures that are similar that go just across land, do they also think refraction is happening just across land as well?
Yeah, beyond about 20 miles, it starts necessitating everything being hologrammatic effects if you can still see it, because it should and must and is falling away from you and not visible on the globe model. That's the bottom line.
So whether you're on water or not, they're gonna
it doesn't matter. It's a sphere. Everything's conforming to a almost geometrically perfect sphere, so it must obey the rules of being on a sphere. You know, and being on a sphere is akin to standing one side of a hill, if you want to make it nice and basic for the stupid people in the audience. If you're on one side of a hill, you can't see the stuff on the opposite side of the hill, until you get to the top of the hill, that is. But while you're on the bottom of the hill, you can't see anything on the other side. Obviously, there's a hill in the way. Therefore, if you do see it, it's being lifted up, projected up that drop value to sit on the horizon of the hill. Well, obviously, if you were to shoot at something, the town's on the other side, you're not going to hit anything, you're just going to hit air. But you're still seeing it because it's being projected up. It's just nonsense. It's so farcical. The BS sandwich you have to swallow just to look at this picture and live on a globe is insurmountably huge. It's a massive BS sandwich.
It's even funnier than that, because what the Globers basically believe is that a smaller hill, it would actually block something out, but because the Earth's curve, it's so wide, it's so big, if it's big enough, then the actual curve effect is negated by their machinated optics, which make everything appear flat, except for literal hills. So that's what they're arguing. It's like, okay, yeah, a curve of a hill would actually block out what you see beyond, but the Earth's curve is so wide that the optics of this Earth, which is completely falsely assumed how that works, actually does negate it from blocking. So because the Earth's curve is so big and so wide, it actually makes optics make it all look like a flat plane. That's what they assume, really.
Okay, can I just interrupt with a comment on chat, which is what I want to address. I'm responding to this comment. Nathan lost all integrity when he accepted without question Anthony's claim of 35 and then 52 feet without any verification, basing the entire argument on that. All right, for the slow people that don't understand what's gone on for 30 debates that have only recently started coming into the chat, let's show the slow people what this is about. Okay, the first video that went public was taken from around about here. As you can see down in the bottom corner, it's given an elevation of around about 33, 34 feet. That's where the first elevation came from. The second elevation was somewhere around about here. And this is around about 50, 51, 52 feet. So that's where the two elevations have come from. The issue is not whether or not that's the exact height. The issue is this is what your model claims. Okay, that's the first part. The second part, let's put this into context, because this is the bit that ballers can't do. Ballers cannot and do not understand what a scale is. They don't understand this is why they have the problem with angular size. It's nonsense, because whether you're arguing from whatever position the height of the thing is, that the elevation that I need to be stood at to capture what we've actually captured. You're not going to see the sound on this, unfortunately, but I'll speed this up a little bit so I can make my point. So this is right. So the elevation that's required for me to see down the whole length of the Isle of Man. There's the actual place that I'm at, and the beach is underneath, and we have to make 5 times higher to get to the size of Blackpool Tower, and that's not tall enough. That's not the height that I need to see what I'm seeing. It's not the height of the Eiffel Tower either. That's not high enough. So this is how the argument over the exact observer height is a farce. It's nonsense, because going up to the next stage building, I don't recognize that one, but whatever that is, no, I need to be higher than that. I need to be higher than that building. I need to go back. I need to go taller than the Khalifa building. So now, how high do we need to be to see what your geometric spheroid tells us that we need to be? That is how high I need to be on your model. So whether you're arguing over 5, 10, 20, 100 feet, you can argue over 100 feet and base the whole argument on how high was Riley. Yeah, but look at the scale of the problem that you gents have. You can have it anywhere down here for the height. You can have anywhere along here. It doesn't make any difference. This is what you geometrically need. Now, unless you're going to argue against the geometry of your spheroid, this is the observer height that I need to be stood at to see what we can see in the evidence. Not this bit down here and a couple of feet here and there. So in response to the correct claim that Nathan lost all his integrity when he accepted without challenge the observer height that I claimed, it was based on your model. And look how much it's short by. It's short by loads. So take your silly little ball, take your silly little nonsense, the rhetoric that comes out of your mouth and making it as though Nathan in some way or that I in some way have been nonsense. No, your model is failing badly and it's doing it all the time. And not even Paul can worm his way out of it. Rumpus can't calculate his way out of it. GeoStreber can't calculate the way out of it because every time they try it, they run out of land. They run out of elevation because the elevation of the land is limited to what it actually is. And you need an awful lot of curvature to bring all that back. I see people going around saying, oh, it's been debunked. It's been debunked. Nobody's debunked it. If they would have debunked it, it would have been done publicly and we would have been shamed and we'd have had to agree that, well, maybe we did only get this so much of it or whatever. But it hasn't happened. So anybody out there claiming that anything's debunked, the current state is this. There is a self-proclaimed amnesty on. Actually, it's retreat. Nobody's debunked anything. Everybody's got it to come and join and challenge it. But look at how much observer height's necessary to achieve what you guys need to achieve on your little pretty ball. Until it happens, boys and girls, nobody's debunked anything. You're all claiming it, but you've got no evidence to prove. And that's the point. We do have evidence to prove, and you've got nothing other than mathematics. So take your little ball and go and hide under your bed. Because you're the only one that believes this nonsense anymore, and you can't realistically believe this nonsense. So you can argue as much as you want over this, whether it's 35 or whatever. Miles Davis went back, and he didn't even do it. So why criticize me?
Can I just ask something about what Rene stated when he came in and asked about Lagness Lighthouse? It seemed to me that he confirmed it was the correct angular size, and his issue was actually that the angular size of the mountains in the background was incorrect versus the size of the lighthouse. So am I correct in saying that he actually confirmed it's the correct angular size?
I think he was happy that the lighthouse was identified correctly, but I think he was saying that the mountains in the background needed to be an awful lot higher. But he didn't realise that cloud covers the tops of mountains. So perhaps, I might be wrong, but perhaps it was just a bit of low-lying cloud, and it was blocking off the tops of the mountains, which is totally, they do get clouds up there. But
Spurs, hello? Spurs.
How you doing, Spurs? Good to have you.
Yes, it's the real me. Don't remove me.
Right. No one's going to go to that extent with their avatar, Spurs. That's why I didn't kick you.
Okay, excellent. Yes.
I'll show the audience your avatar just so they can see what I'm talking about.
Well, I decided to put this up when we had confirmation of Ireland. You see, that was a big deal for me. A lot of these ballers, Sean and Sly, they keep on coming out with that. They've debunked, they've located this white dot, but they've yet to do anything like what Ranty has done with the comparison. He has to point out this and then point out that. And not only that, they've failed to present it to anybody. To like Anthony just said, to publish it. It's like they are in their own little. Do you hear me? Okay. Yes.
Yeah, you're coming through nice and clear.
Okay, good. So it seems like they're keeping this information within their own little circle. Like, oh, we've debunked the flat earthers, and but not producing anything. For Miles to go down to the exact same spot and come back with no results and the experiment completely flawed, I don't see that the boys have a leg to stand on.
No, they don't. I mean, what they want us to do is go and troll through like a 3-hour hangout looking for the bit where they actually debunk it. like a 2-minute clip of the piece that shows that it was wrong. And that's not going to happen, is it? Let's be honest. We're not going to sit there for 3 hours listening to all the nonsense that we get called.
No. Well, so, what will happen tonight is, you will present this, and then you'll have the likes of, like I say, Sly and Sean tonight saying, "Oh, Riley made a mistake here, and Riley's done something wrong here," and they're all watching you, and they can't come in. They've watched Paul and Rumpus challenge you for weeks upon weeks, and I would have called this out before the boycott. I knew that they would retreat because there's no explanation for explaining why we can see Island. There's absolutely no explanation.
So Sean says that people tried to correct me on it, Anthony. Yeah, corrected me on something, but not proving that it's correct. I mean, it's nonsense, Sean. Correcting me with nonsense is not correcting me. It's just correcting me with nonsense. And I dismissed it because it's nonsense and called everybody else a liar. Well, I mean,
right. So, you've got Cat Earth saying, well, the results came out 10 hours ago. Well, why would you go on your own platform when this is where this is being discussed? It wouldn't make any sense. If you have something to refute, you would come on and speak to the guy who has done the results, got the tests, and you would say, this is why, this is wrong. This would be the normal way that I would think that you would show that you have debunked or you have the results. You would say, Anthony, look at this. This matches with this. Ranty, you got this wrong because this is with this. We haven't seen any of that. All we've seen is the likes of Sly make an absolute pig's ear of a video that he hadn't even watched. Okay, saying, "Oh, what lighthouse?" And then he didn't have a clue which lighthouse is which and which elevation is what. And
Spurs, did you notice that Sly didn't let you on the chat because you did not do your own research, and he would never let anybody on that did not do their own research? But that was when I joined, and I thought, great, I'll not have a problem getting on there, and he never let me join. And I asked about 8 times, and in the end,
what did he do? He said, "I'm not going to let anyone without doing their own research." So you were like, "Well, let me on," and then he said, "Oh, before I let you on, you must answer this." So he's trying to trip you up before you even got into the room.
No, he wanted one question answering, which was a yes, no. And I gave him the answer, and the answer was no. And Miles Davis confirmed that I gave the answer to be no. But then he started asking more questions, and he was trying to get me to converse via text or via message. And I mean, that's not really the way that we do things. I mean, if his rule is that you must produce your own evidence, then I'm in. So can I have the link, please? Let's talk about it like adults. However,
again, look, for me, that wasn't that is just Sly being Sly, because anybody who understands the experiment is able to explain. Ranty could go in there. He didn't make the observations. Nathan could go in there. He didn't make the observations. Anyone with a good understanding of, how things work could have explained to Sly. And it just showed that he didn't let you in. The person who made the actual observations, he didn't want to let you in. So that's very telling. But I'm sure we'll see tonight, the same rhetoric from Sean.
We won't see tonight. What will happen is we'll go to bed because the Americans are up later than we are, because we go to bed first, and then 5 hours later they generally start to go to bed. But while we're in bed, they get their 5 hours of grace because we're in bed. And in that 5 hours, they then claim debunks because obviously we're asleep. Then next morning, the stories go round, and they are stories, no evidence. But the stories go round that Riley's been debunked. Gio's done it. Rumpus has done it. No. If anybody's going to debunk it, get on this channel and show it. Because
look, if it's not Island, I would like to know. If somebody can say, well, it's not Island, it's this, it's this. I mean, the borders seem to think that we're just accepting, what we've been told or whatever. But this is the whole point of even you guys asking for it to be debunked.
Well, here we go. We just had Rennie in before, and he was talking about arc seconds and stuff like this. So he's clearly quite clued up on this kind of stuff. And he clearly admitted and said there and then, yeah, it's Island. And he's a baller.
Sure.
Yeah, but why would I go and watch Miles's video? Why wouldn't Miles come here and explain?
Miles tells lies, though. Why would anybody
has seen? It doesn't make any sense from any baller. I can't seem to understand the baller's logic.
Until Miles...
Ranty has compared the Google with the photograph, identifying each location. I really don't understand why borders keep saying, we found it, we know what that white... Well, if you found it, match it up. It's very simple. If you need to speak to Ranty on how he done it, I'm sure he'd assist you, but by saying, oh, we found a building is not going to convince anybody.
Cat Earth
that you
request.
found it.
What happened to going down with the tape measure? Well, that was what Miles was supposed to be going down to do. Did he? Has he done it? Probably not. Has he produced any evidence of it? No. So the question becomes, why did he not? Because he was going there to debunk me. And Miles, until Miles apologizes to Ranty for calling him a liar about the BB Wave Master 1, he has no credibility whatsoever. Neither does Sean, because he said he was going legal on me with a judge that told him that he couldn't extradite me from the UK on the grounds of insanity, setting a precedent.
Well, the way you were speaking about
nonsense.
Sly, I
Hufford.
thought that he was a genuine baller. Like you were saying, he understands, and it looks to me that he's completely opposite. It looks like he's just there to prolong, this discussion when it's clear. If something is so clear and somebody can't refute it easily, like he said, "Oh, I could find that white dot within the hour."
So
Just
why?
what is it? What is it? And
So why in this
2 days later, he still hasn't lined up Google with that photograph.
Sean says, so why in this very hangout have you changed it again to be more in line with what we have been telling you since day one, Anthony? What are you referring to with the word it, Sean? What have I changed? My position has never changed. You're just coming new to the table after 30 hangouts and claiming ignorance and then making it out as though in some way I've changed. I haven't. I've stuck to 35 feet and 52 feet because that's what your model says. The evidence has never changed. We've always said that we believe we're looking at Douglas in the bottom corner and we're looking at Ireland behind it. I have not changed any part of my position, Sean. So are you misrepresenting me again, or are you just being ignorant because you don't know the facts?
Let me just say quickly, if Sean's that concerned, or the board are that concerned about Nathan's moderator, I mean, for me, it's more about the information. It's not about any individual. And they haven't even suggested what Nathan should do, like to make it more appealing for these ballers. They've just said, "Oh well, we don't like the attitude, and we're going to boycott it." And haven't said, "Oh, we'd like it to be done like this, so we can debate it or can discuss it." They've just said,
"Well, no, we've had Mark Taylor on saying he wants to just deny it." Well, that's fine. They can come on and tell us how they deny it if they like. Not very many of them want to.
James Collins saying that they're too stupid to realise all of Riley's lies are on record. I have every hangout from 59 recorded. Well, guess what, James? So have we. And I challenge you to bring any snips of any part of any of the hangouts where you can claim and prove, in fact, that I intended to deceive anybody, any of the lies that you think that I've made. Because I stand by everything that's been said, and I've even asked you for help. I've asked you to help me identify the
falling into the trap because they have nothing else to offer anymore. So what they will do is they'll just go around and claim debunked, and they will try to discredit both yourself and me, and even Nathan and the show, in order to try and claim a victory when they have no evidence, they have no proof, they can't debunk it. So they're going to throw as much exclamation mark crap around to try and muddy the waters, and that's all they have left right now. There's nothing else.
Sean can't join because somebody has him blocked. Well, what does that tell you, Sean?
Well, I don't have him blocked.
Well, it may well be me, actually. I'm not sure. I'd have to.
That's priceless. What does that tell you? Someone's going, oh, actually, it might be me.
I don't know where the blocking thing is. I don't think he is blocked on my account. But
go to their Google Plus page.
Sean Hufford's from Plus page. How do I go to the Google Plus page?
I mean, look, the way that these ballers are going about this, it looks like this Isle of Man will run for the next year, the whole year. If they want to nip this in the bud and prove that it's not what it is, they should be here immediately.
Yeah, they better hop to it, eh? They just want to hop to it in their circle jerks where no one can disagree with them.
Yeah, that's what we see. We see like late night hangouts complaining about somebody's lying, and I'm yet to see the accuser address who they are accusing, like directly. It's just through video calls.
I'm just looking at Sean Hufford's Google Plus page. Where would I find out if he's blocked on there or not? Fucking hell, Sean. You've changed since the last seen you.
No swearing.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. I'm gonna go and get a quick brew whilst I get some more nonsense from chat.
I imagine it was the other way around.
Jazzaconda.
Imagine it was the other way around, like ballers.
Hold on, Spurs. How you doing, Jazz? Hold on, Spurs. How you doing, Jazz?
So imagine it was the other way around.
Hold on, Spurs. Spurs.
Information.
I'm gonna have to boot this guy because you can't shut up. How you doing, Jazzaconda?
Oh, sorry.
I think we had to kick him. I think someone kicked him because Spurs was rambling. You
No, I
didn't see
haven't
him come
kicked
in.
him. Has anybody
He's
kicked
still
him?
here.
Hopefully he's
No,
still
I think he
here.
got kicked.
I gave him 10 seconds. I didn't hear him.
I wasn't looking at the I can't see who's joining.
I know, but you have to be aware if someone speaks over you to shut
I'll
you
turn
up.
me
You
up
have
in
to
the
shut.
hangout so you guys can hear me if I interrupt you.
So Jazzaconda, if you got kicked then and it was the real guy, apologies. It was Ranty.
It was me. But you've got to speak. As soon as you come in, you need to shout and say hello. If you don't...
Hey, Nathan Oakley, Sleeping Warrior, Ranty. I saw another single pixel. I'm sure that's a house on top of Mount Pearl. After all, the Earth is flat, huh? Paul, don't sit there being a text warrior, Paul. If you've got evidence,
I mean, text like that from a physicist should not be. He shouldn't think of things like that. In his mind, in the physicist's mind, he should have the answers constantly. He should have. He should always have.
Here's Sean. So Sean's identified what the word "it" was in his previous comment. My elevation, Anthony. In this hangout, you have said that you were about 100. No, I haven't, Sean. I've stood my ground and I've said 52 feet. 52 feet is the highest elevation that your model puts me at. Whether it's accurate or not isn't my problem. It's your problem because it's your model that you guys believe, accept, and trust to be true. All I'm showing is that your model does not do what you think it does. Therefore, ergo, we do not live on a ball. So I haven't changed my position, Sean. You're talking nonsense again, Sean. You're misrepresenting me or you're just thick. I did not say I was at 100
I actually
feet.
don't think he understood the image that you showed before about Blackpool Tower and the Eiffel Tower and the highest building in the world.
Do you want to show them it again for the benefit of just Sean? Because I don't think he gets it either. just for the benefit, we'll dedicate this video thing for Sean because Sean doesn't get it. Sean doesn't understand that even if I was at 300 feet, Sean, we're still not going to see Ireland in the background because it's so far behind the ball, Sean, that we can't see it. So for the benefit just of Sean, here's Ranty with the just for you, Sean. Nick with Noel.
Okay,
Riley thinks he's debunked quantum mechanics because how light could possibly be particles and waves. Well, that's always the double slit experiment argument, Nick with Noel. Everybody, that's the whole. What you're just saying there is itemizing in one sentence the problem with the double slit observation compared to the mechanics of light being a straight line and therefore a particle. Right, go on, Ranty. Talk to Sean. Just pretend that Sean's in chat, just for Sean. Come on, talk to Sean.
Okay, Sean. So as you can see, this is the hill that we were talking about. Now, whether he stood here or he stood here or maybe even at the top, right? So what I've done is I've put Blackpool Tower next to it. We've gone all the way up, all Blackpool Tower. 5 hills I've put on top of each other. In fact, 5.5 actually. So now we're at the height of Blackpool Tower, but he's still not high enough that he can't see Ireland from there. So what we have to do then is go up to the Eiffel Tower. And again, that's still not high enough. So then we have to go up to this building, then the next building, then the highest building in the world. And then we put the highest building on the world on top of the second highest building in the world. And eventually we get to high enough that we can actually see Ireland from up here. And you're going to be moaning way down here.
Ranty, that is a huge Ranty. That's a huge claim what you're saying there. I mean, for me, if you're saying the tallest building is necessary to see.
No, the tallest building and the second tallest building on top of each other.
It needs the highest building in the world and then the second highest building on the world on top of the highest building in the world.
All right, so look, how did you work that out? Because they're going to say, oh, Ranty's just put buildings next to buildings and
it's just maths,
around 4,000 feet.
It's just maths,
bro.
Just maths, bro.
Right, guys, I'm going to do a very quick link before you start arguing about how you got the maths for that graphic depiction. So we have approximately half an hour left on this live stream. If you are new to the channel or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while it is live. But most importantly, if you would like to join the debate, simply mute the page you are currently watching then click the link in the info box to join the discussion and express your views on the shape of the Earth. There are a couple of rules in the Hangout. Number 1, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. You must say something when you join the stream, as for the last few shows we've had people join simply to remove other guests from the show. So in order to prevent that from happening, we have been removing people who simply join and go on mute or don't introduce themselves. So please say something if you join the stream. If you've not done so already, please share the show, as this increases the chances of a more diverse audience. And one last time, if you are new to the channel or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate.
Yeah, it's just maths, bro. That's all it is. And that's how high Anthony would have had to have been to see Ireland. It's as simple as that. So all this arguing about a foot here or 2 feet there or 10 meters or whatever, it's irrelevant. In this context, it is completely irrelevant. Hello?
Yeah, we're all taking it in, Ranty. Taking in your graphic depiction of how high we must be while we're arguing about whether or not he's at 50 feet or 100 feet. Yeah, chuck about 1,000 feet. Maybe you could haggle about 1,000 feet, and we'd still be well short.
It just makes it's a completely irrelevant argument now. But they'll still argue it because they'll think in some way that this is going to make the world a ball. So if they can try and prove that Anthony was at 100 feet, they'll try and claim the victory. What they don't realise is that he has to be, how high was it? 4,000 feet high to see Ireland? Something like that, 5,000 feet high? Ridiculous.
Well, they're trying to make it an argument about credibility. So they're questioning Anthony's credibility and saying he's intentionally deceived the audience by saying he's at 35 feet. And all Anthony replies continually for every single debate is, that's what your model says. I'm just plugging in what the model says. Simple as that.
Well, this is what it's all about. It's a model breaking debate, and it's a model breaking observation.
Ranty, have you? I mean, I'm not saying if you're wrong or right. I haven't worked it out myself, but have you asked a baller or been through that height with any ballers to see, what they say?
No, I don't need to.
I know you don't need to,
I can do
just for the benefit of the, the debate. It would be interesting to know.
It's just maths, bro. That's all it is. Just maths. Just what it actually needs for him to be high enough to see Ireland's mountains. It's as simple as that.
What is the total height that you need to be in feet to see?
Right. Let me go and have a quick look now. I'll tell you exactly. Distance in miles, 145. Put your height in feet. Let's put 4,000 feet in, and we're still refracted hidden is still 2,150. So let me move it up to 5,000 feet. 1,500 feet would still be hidden. Those mountains are about 700 meters tall, so that's about 2,100 feet. So if we're seeing the tops of them or whatever, yeah. So you could say 5,000 feet. It would have to be 5,000 feet high to see the tops of those mountains.
Thank you very much.
No worries. So if they want to carry on arguing about the elevation height, we can do that all day long. And just keep referring him back to the mathematics of what height he would have to have been to have seen Ireland.
Yeah, Chris keeps bringing us back to the same point when we're looking at things like, and from Anthony's point of view, he wants to cover the entire island, which is fine. Why not? But from Chris's point of view, he's like, well, this was game over from Morgard Lighthouse. We shouldn't see Morgard Lighthouse. There's a wall of earth in the way. That's game over for the globe immediately. Not only that, as you pan your camera from left to right, based on the maths and the geometry of your ball, you should see a curve. You should see it falling away from you. It's simple physics. We've seen it modelled, and that's the reality we don't have. That's the bottom line here. So for Chris, who's not here at the moment, he's probably snoozing, he just sees it as, what's the point? The closest observable item is blocked by Earth curve in their model. It's not visible. Game over.
And I have to echo his words. I agree. We should not be seeing that lighthouse at all. But we see it, and we see the land below it. and we see pretty much the beach, as Alex would argue.
But what you're forgetting is they will do hangout after hangout after hangout about the elevation, right? And it will, in some way, if they can try and say that you were not at 52 feet or 35 feet or wherever you were, and they can prove that you was at 100 feet, they will. This is their argument then. This is their entire. They can do hangout after hangout on this, and they won't tell their audience that it makes no difference. They will just try to say that it does.
So we've got an irate.
Try and get a win out of nothing, because it means nothing. Elevation means nothing at this observation.
So we've got an irate Australian in chat demanding that we explain why can't we see Ramsey. For the benefit of the irate Aussie. Okay, so Ramsey sits. Ramsey is the lowest part of the island, and it sits here in this void here. And I agree, we cannot see it. However, we also see that there is some element of looming, and there's like a refractive optical atmospheric effect here, because the land doesn't bend under itself, and island isn't floating on its own mass.
I don't think you're sharing, by the way.
Oh. I should be.
There's nothing to share. I don't know. Sorry, I'm a bit confused. Did you want me to share him?
Sorry, yeah.
Oh, there we go. Sorry, yes, you were trying to, but weren't. Yeah, okay, cool.
Okay, so just for I'll do that again just for the benefit of everybody. So we have, there's the Isle of Man, and Ramsey sits in this void between the two land masses. So when we zoom into Ramsey, this is where Ramsey appears to stop. But when we zoom in, we see that there is some kind of atmospheric optical thing that now, for some reason, it's bending back on itself. Now, we know that the Isle of Man is not floating on the water. It doesn't have a plimsoll line. It is land. But for some reason, we're seeing some amount of blockage that clearly starts here, meaning that all of this here would be obscured because of refraction or reflection or mirage or dirty air. You know the dirty air that Paul laughs at me about that we can't see? Well, you're seeing it. It's here. Right the way across there is where Ramsey sits. We can't see it because whatever's going on here, there's a little bit of refraction here. And guess what? It's limited to that which we see. There's no non-standard refraction, Paul. There's just refraction. There's a little bit of dirty air, and we do see it. That is the answer to your question, Paul. It's behind this dirty bit of reflected line.
But you see, this is what they're going to do. They're going to bring it back to ask it about Ramsey. Well, what about Douglas? What about the lighthouse?
Yeah, what about what we do see that should be obscured by Earth curve, Paul? What about Moorgold Lighthouse? Let's stick to the closest observable thing. There we go.
Hold on. Are we having problems answering this question? I don't want to just. We should just
answered it.
Not at all. So what's happened is
what is this about Ramsey? He keeps going on about. Can't we end this Ramsey?
I've just dealt with it.
Yeah, what the situation is, Spurs, is as follows. They want us to accept that refraction is looming the entire island up from 2.5, in the case of Ireland, from 2.5 miles from beyond our vision. Yeah, it's gone beyond what we can see, but it's being loomed up, and there is absolutely sod all evidence to actually back that up. Whereas we're saying we can't see Ramsey because of refraction.
So hold on, you're saying
hold on, let me get to the end, Spurs.
Say to Paul,
hold on, just let me get to the end of my sentence. I want to clarify the position. So their position is the entire bloody island's looming. That's their position. No evidence, sod all evidence to actually back that up. Now what we're saying is...
Why is Ramsey not being loomed up then?
Well, yeah,
if that's
good question.
The whole island is being loomed up. Well, what happened to Ramsey? Why aren't we seeing it? Exactly.
Yeah, that's a really
so let's flip that back on you, Paul. Why aren't we seeing Ramsey if the entire island's being loomed up? Because in our model, we just demonstrate the refractive band that we actually see evidenced in the image, and then talk about refraction then. Something that you have never done, ever.
All right, but let's say you just said there's no evidence. So what evidence would Paul have to bring for you to, agree with, or you said the word there's no evidence. So what do you mean? What does Paul have to do?
Well, he has to demonstrate anything in the image that would suggest that the entire island's looming up from beyond 2.5 miles of drop in the case of Ireland, and 51 miles beyond, 51 miles in the distance in the case of Lagness Lighthouse. All of this must be loomed up to the horizon. There's no evidence of that whatsoever. None. So there is evidence of refraction, and that evidence is being used by us to demonstrate why we can't see Ramsey, because it's evidenced in the image.
No, I'd like Paul to clarify, actually. If the whole island is being loomed up, why aren't we seeing Ramsey?
Now, Paul's position would be that
it's much clearer. It should be there, clear as day.
Well, what I'll say for our side on it is that we see clear evidence of something optical that there is no science for because we don't live on a flat Earth. That's why we don't really have a proper name for it, because we don't know what we're looking at, because there is no science for it. We don't have $52 million a day budget, etc. But we can clearly see that Ireland does not look like that Isle of Man does not look like that in real world. So there is something that sits on the horizon at that height, and it's blocking out all of Ramsey. So if it's all being loomed back up because of curvature of the Earth, Paul, why is Ramsey not being loomed back up because of the curvature of the Earth too? It's a fair point, Paul. You can ask where it is. Well, we can explain it on the evidence. It's sat behind a layer of dirty air or mirroring or refraction or whatever. Well, why is it not being loomed up like all the rest of the island, Paul?
Well, why are you trying to trick, and why is what's your point? You were just playing games. I thought you was a scientist or something. Shouldn't
he's a high school teacher. I think that most people will, like, if you ask Paul for something, like Nathan's just asked, I think most people will see through if it's a trick or not.
Yeah, it is. And to be fair, all we're doing is just playing him back at his own game, which is basically, if he's saying the island's loomed up, then why aren't we seeing Ramsey?
Yeah, that's a good point, that, Ramsey. But it makes more sense, in my opinion, or in my assertion, that this is clear evidence of something, and we're not seeing Ramsey underneath it. There's a hotel in Ramsey that's 10 stories high. Paul claims it's 16 stories high, but Paul's got this he's got this like over exaggerated perception of size, so he thinks something that's only 10 stories high is 16 stories high. But that's sat in this horizon line of block dirty air that we can't see, but can see, but they ignore.
Furthermore, sorry, just to add one more point, when you were focusing on what we are now debating at the north end of the island as being chimney stacks or whatever, if you watch the video, you can see the layer of air that you're describing as dirty air changing before your very eyes. In other words, the atmosphere is far from linear. It's not consistent everywhere. You don't have perfect air. You know, in the same way you don't have perfect weather. There's clouds over some part, there's no clouds over the other parts. It's going to change what you look through. And in this example, the refractive band is big enough to block the lowlands. That's the bottom line, with the exception probably of that high 260, 270 foot mound. That's probably the only bit that would peak above it. And that seems to be exactly what we have evidenced in the image. Exactly that. You know, floaty land on the far right that looks like that sandbank that's poking up just before what we see as being island and are now trying to locate chimney stacks on. Meanwhile, when we ask them the same question, where are these landmarks that are categorically there in both videos? You know, there's two different videos that capture them. They're definitely there. Where are they on the Isle of Man? If that's the Isle of Man that we're looking at, point out where these chimney stacks are on the last tenth of the island.
That's exactly their conundrum. I mean, this is the hotel that Paul's talking about. This 10-story that he claims is 16 stories. It's the highest structure on the Isle of Man. The highest, that includes power chimney stacks and everything. The tallest structure is this, and for some reason, it's not been made in 3-dimension. But all other stuff around it seems to be built. I don't know. I don't remember seeing this like this before. Maybe they're doing it now. But in any event, this is the tallest structure on the whole of Isle of Man. So if we're seeing a chimney stack that's demonstrably and evidently a lot taller than this, it stands to reason that we are not looking at Isle of Man. It does make sense that we are looking at the thing behind it. And what I also want to add to that is when we do look at the video, you see that there's a boat in the foreground somewhere, and it would make sense that the boat would be on the water rather than floating on the land, because boats live in water. And I know that sounds like an obvious thing to state, but when I go back to this footage, which is where the stack is, the stack sits here, and there's a boat here. So it makes sense that the boat is somewhere between here and Ireland, and it's going into the port of Belfast. It makes sense that it's going to Belfast, and therefore it can't be anywhere near Isle of Man, because Isle of Man, unless it can go over the land. So just from an evidential point of view, it makes sense to me that if this is a chimney stack where it appears to be, and in that kill something power station, whatever it's called, Kilroot, if that is Kilroot Power Station and we see the 3 smokestacks coming out of the chimneys there, all right, you have to look for it. It is quite far away, which is consistent with looking far away. But it would make sense that a boat which we know what this boat is full of coal, and it travels to and from Kilroot Power Station. The Kilroot Power Station boat is in the image, and it looks like it's just left here and it's heading around towards Scotland. because that's the run it makes. So it makes sense to me logically that this the boat from the power station that's filled with coal or just emptied from coal is basically going to and from there, and that seems to be what we see in the evidence.
Furthermore, there's one other thing, Anthony, which is this, what we're looking at, if we are to believe their version of events on the globe side, this is the closest visible thing. Yeah. So this boat is at the nearest distance to us. I don't know if you can do this on the composite one of you, but if you can show us the boat that is actually in the near foreground on the far left of the image, on the last frame. So this is what something much, that's what a boat looks like. Can you zoom into that?
It's dark because the contrast has been played with, so I'm not sure you'll see it.
Nah,
you can't really see it on that one.
Yeah, fair enough. But that's a boat in the near foreground, and there is another example on about the fourth frame of a boat in the near foreground between us and the Isle of Man. That is definitely between us and the Isle of Man with the horizon line behind it. There we go. That's what it would look like if it was between us and the Isle of Man. And that sort of scale, that sort of size. You look at the other boat, and it looks, this is supposed to be closer to us, remember, considerably closer. We're now at about 30 miles, less than 30 miles, rather than 40. This boat's got to be 20 miles away from us, if we're to believe that land behind it's the Isle of Man. And yet it's the least defined of all of it. All of this on this side is the least defined.
And obviously the boat doesn't seem to be disappearing from the bottom up, like is what we're constantly told. It seems to be there.
Yep. So if we are to believe this is the Isle of Man, and it's going to be the thing, yeah, we're saying there's dirty air covering it, but you can still see landmarks on it. That's the bottom line. So surely they should be identifiable on the Isle of Man, if that's what you're claiming this is. It absolutely isn't the Isle of Man. This is Ireland. There's no two ways in my mind. But if you want to claim it's the Isle of Man, tie down some landmarks. It's the closest thing to us. Surely you should be able to do that. We've done it to the other end of the island. We've lined it up with the difficult things, the things much further behind the curve, the things being much more projected. Those things, we've matched them up perfectly. Ranty has done the best job ever. You can pick out the features in the landscape, you can pick out the landmarks, you can pick it all out. So you've got to beat that. You've got to do better. And you're now focusing on the lowlands that are closest to us, the nice, easy stuff. And you can't even locate a massive chimney stack. Pathetic.
Yeah, this is one of the fundamental reasons why, I'm believing that it's Ireland, because we've been asking now since you've released this, for a border to do exactly what Ranty has done. I don't seem to see the problem. And these guys have computers, they have programs. Is what you did difficult, Ranty? I think we saw Rumpus do something similar. Well, but is it challenging?
Yeah.
Well, it took me a few hours. Once I actually realised where everything was on the map and I lined up the hill, the rest all just fell into.
Yeah, but that took weeks. That took weeks. I don't want to downplay it, Ranty, because from your point of view, you're like, well, I just put that image together in a few hours. Well, I'm not going to downplay what you did at all, because I had to listen to it, and it was fantastic. The entire process was amazing and frustrating, and you two fell out several times over several days and over several weeks while you were doing what somebody is asking you if it was easy or not. No, it isn't easy. No.
Just thinking about it, the last time, the last rage quit was me rage quitting on Ranty because of this particular point. I was saying that if we've got the scale right and that we're looking at Isle of Man, this chimney stack's got to be in there, and it wasn't in there. But at the time, we were thinking, well, this is the scale that we think we're working on. And at the time, Chris and Ranty were in agreement. And I'm sat there biting my tongue and I'm saying, no, that evidence has to be there.
Oh, can I give that a bit more clarity? That's a bit too vague. Sorry, I'm really sorry. Yeah. So what
the process is basically that we were trying to work with a ball earth model.
Correct, to falsify it. Exactly.
And that's what was screwing with our heads, because we were trying to line everything up with a ball earth model and it wasn't working. And this is why it took us a long time to get over the fact that we were playing with a flat Earth image and trying to match it up on a ball Earth, Google Earth. It just wasn't happening. So we had to go back to basics and start again. And that's how I was able to do it.
But also, adding to that, what Chris was specifically doing was modelling it based on their scale, as well as ours. So we started with a particular scale, so did they. And once ours was 99% tied down, Chris said, right, now I'm going to... He totally threw a cat amongst the pigeons, because he said, I've changed my mind about all these locations. And what he'd essentially done, like a method actor, is to be completely unbiased, started from scratch, and started to model it on the small scale, the scale they still are on. I.e. the whole picture is only Isle of Man. Now that scale broke quicker than you can believe, but we all had to have the mindset, this is correct, while we're looking at it. Not the mindset of, well, it doesn't work because this doesn't line up at the other scale. We had to abandon all of that completely in order to be unbiased and look at it from the smaller scale. And like I say, it very quickly broke. Now, when we got to the point that it did break, I saw how it broke. I was fortunate enough to be, having it demonstrated to me by Chris, as was Ranty and Anthony. And while we were being shown, I was like, right, they've run out of elevation on the land when they're landing. When they line up the villages and force the perspective down closer to us to make the maths easier, it screws up when you start lining up these lights on the last hill. They basically run out of elevation. The map completely fails. And at that point, the model was totally broken. So it wasn't any surprise whatsoever when we had a position that Rumpus came on, tried to line up those 3 lights, knew where they were, came to put them into the model, but then realised that in his model, they should be sat at the horizon line curving around the Earth. So it moved their position on his model. In other words, it failed. And that was where he went, oh, I seem to have made a mathematical mistake. Well, I knew exactly what mistake had been made. I'd watched it happen before my eyes with the mindset, this is going to work. Let's get this small scale to work. It's got to. Let's line things up and plot them in, put them on the model, get it to work. Because we had much more sophisticated modelling equipment. Chris has done this for a career on multi-billion-dollar projects. So, in terms of his skills, they far surpass any of the Globers. So that's why we were ahead of the game. It's not because certainly not because I'm smart. I'm not. I'm a humble guy. But we were ahead of the game because of Chris keeping us ahead of the game. And how? Because every single part of their scale has been modelled and falsified. It breaks completely.
And this is the hangout I believe Sean's done on the presentation that we did about moving the camera nearer to the Isle of Man to give it the same kind of perspective as what the camera did. That was basically he didn't understand the presentation. It went over his head, completely over his head.
So he's not going to be able to do a decent debunk. Yeah, this is why you've got to come in and debunk it, because show your eyes. Let's see the colour, the whites of your eyes, gents.
Well,
know that you're claiming that you're on protest, but the reality is you've got nothing. You have literally got nothing, because whatever you come in with, you're going to be walking out with your tail between your legs, because the evidence stands on its own footprint and it stands on its own merit. It's not like other evidence where you can say, well, there's a little bit of refraction there, that's the curvature, and it becomes 50-50.
Clarify what I was saying though, just to clarify. Ultimately, it was you had to move the perspective in Google Earth to capture the same image that we got with the camera, because what we were working with Google Earth, which is modeled on a ball, and we know that the Earth is flat, so we're taking an image in a flat perspective. So we're seeing it flat, but in order to get it to match up, we had to physically move the camera in Google Earth, because Google Earth can't zoom. We had to move the camera nearer to make it more flat, because in the near perspective, it becomes flatter. But in the far perspective, it curves it around the ball, which is why it didn't match. So the whole presentation was about proving that in order to capture the same image, we had to iron out the curve of Google Earth. And we did that by moving the camera nearer. So I hope this rectifies your claims in regards to, do I understand cameras or not? Thank you very much.
I just want to, Nath, would you present me screen again? I want to show something that people, I've made this point twice, but now that Sean's in chat, I want Sean to answer this one, because there is no obvious explanation for this without some kind of ignorance, literal ignorance. You have to turn a blind eye to the evidence if you're going to try and answer this. But when we go down to this area that where the big debate was over whether this was Douglas or Bala-Canal or whatever, the way I understand it is that Paul Voigt still believes that this is Bala-Canal. Now, when you line up this downward sloping path, you can clearly see on Google Earth that Bala-Canal, I'll have to zoom back out a little bit. I've derailed with my grid lines point.
Can you just show why he thinks that?
Yeah, I'm going to show it now. I'm going to show the problem. So, all right. So this is roughly the line that we have. So what you're looking at here is you're looking at this mountain in the foreground that's got the dark patch at the top. And then you can see that the ravine comes down. And if we go back to the evidence, you can see that this is exactly the point that we're looking at. There's the land where it goes. Oh, let me zoom out a little bit. All right, so there's the land, the black land that goes up, and it starts to come down. And as it comes down here, we see a couple of lights on the horizon line here. And in relation to the lights that are on the horizon, this is where we're looking at. So Laxey, the town of Laxey, is in the ravine, so you're not going to see Laxey. That sits behind here somewhere. And then we have this in the corner. But what we also have something that's here on Google Earth, which would be Ballacannel. But the problem is Ballacannel sits at around about anywhere between, like, down here is 220, in the middle's 300-ish, 350, so like 300 feet. But I'm at 52 feet, so this is above me. So if we're on a flat plane, you're going to be looking up to this, and you're going to be looking up to the road. So from underside, you're not going to see these buildings because they're here, but I'm looking up to them, and the road is above my head, which is consistent with what we're looking at. In contrast, when you look down to this part where we do see buildings, you come down to the corner, which is Baldrine. Let me spin it around a bit. And then this is in a valley. So this is like the elevation here. Mind you, that's still at 200 and odd feet, I suppose. 200 feet? What was that one at? Maybe not. It's about the same. There's 300 there in points, 350, 200. But we're seeing land that's here, but also mixing up with here in the background. But we're at 40 miles away here. But we're not going to see Baldrine because it's above the line of sight. For me, I'm looking up to it. But we're looking across that. Shut up. I'm going to have to sort these dogs out. Carry on.
No worries. Before we round out, because we've only got a couple of minutes left, are you still there, Auntie? Are you with us?
I am, yeah.
Can you bring up your high contrast, unedited, and Google Earth images that you matched up? Because I want to show the audience the benchmark.
Right, okay.
This is basically what someone who wants to claim that they've lined up landmarks has got to do. They've got to go to this effort and show us that it matches. I'll just present you, Auntie. Bear with me a second.
Okay.
Yeah, just so the people can gauge how difficult, actually spotting each, landmark and lining them up. I think this is what the borders are struggling with. They keep on calling debunked, but they don't understand the idea would be to say this is how we line up Google and a photograph, and this is how you have. You see the difference. So basically, Sean and Sly, something like this has to be like this. This is what we're calling it. This is how, so we can analyze how you line it up.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to try and do your own with this, you have the composite now. There's no excuses for this. You should be able to work with it and do a similar job and tell me where this is wrong.
So can you go to the Google claw hand, you know what I'm talking about, and then just zoom in on that on the Google image. Just, if you can, make it bigger on the Google, and then start from there. Here we go. So if we look at this feature, and then we look at it in the image, in terms of its match, it needs to be a bit higher on the lower one, I think. But
there's the houses on the hill, comes down into the ravine, You can actually see the contrast, the colours here, the white, and then it's like a love heart shape. You can actually see it here. So clear. Comes down the hill. This is the clawed. You can see with the mountains in the background. Look, you've got the mountain coming down here, the mountain coming down there.
Just click hide on that.
The mountain rising up here.
Click hide on that box. You keep moving. Just click hide on it. Click hide on that.
Oh, right. Okay. Sorry. And yeah, this is exactly. This is where is it Baldrine or Ballacannel? Ballacannel. That's Ballacannel here, at the bottom of the hill.
And the important point with that is that's what Anthony was just pointing out, that we're looking up at that. We're below this. So it's being blocked by the ridge. We can't see the houses because we are looking up. Only possible on a flat plane. We're not looking down on this, which would be necessitated by us being on a curve. We're not. We're looking up at it at about 40 miles.
You can see the hill. And then the hill just to the right of the hill, underneath it, is where this Ballacannel is. So you've got the hill which comes down here, bottom of the hill, and that's Ballacannel in this area here. And then when we move across, we come up to Baldrine, which is facing where Anthony. This is on a This is on a side angle. So you're not going to capture many buildings looking from the side. But
About
these
10
ones that are
seconds.
facing you, they're the ones that you're going to see. And this is exactly what we do see.
And with that, I'm going to say, first and foremost, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and sharing this show. Be sure to, if you've not done so already, like, comment, share, and subscribe. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.